Everyone's desperate to work out what's going on with the timing screens when new cars are launched at the start of testing. But it's only testing. We hear that so much. And it's very difficult to make sense of it because the picture's so muddied by a blend of glory runs and sandbagging. So what does that mean, and why do the teams do it? So here we've got two approaches to doing testing. One is to actively try and look good, and the other is to actively try and not look good, to actually look bad. So typically in testing, the teams will run a baseline fuel load. It'll be 30 kilos, 50 kilos, maybe even more. And that is to get a really good reference for their testing runs. What they want to do is run a baseline and then run the same compounded tyre with the same amount of fuel so they can accurately gauge what their test items are doing. But aside from these routine test runs that are done pretty much throughout the day, sometimes the teams will take the fuel out, put the soft tyres on, run on fumes in basically a qualifying mode, and this is a glory run. This is Robert Kubica last year topping a day in the Alfa Romeo, a car that we now know was towards the back. And why do the teams do that? Well, firstly, it's nice to be quickest. This gives everyone a bit of motivation. There's been a long winter away. The designers have been building a car, the mechanics building it up, coming out here for the first race. Everyone's energized to start the season. And then you start it looking really good. It gives everyone a good motivation, good momentum heading into the season. So for the team members and the drivers, it's a great start. Secondly, you've got commercial aspects as well that are always crucial in Formula One, when a sponsor's maybe not quite signed on the dotted line to bring some big money backing to a team. The best way that a team can get that deal across the line is to look really good in testing. So maybe taking out a bit of fuel, topping the times, can make them sign on the dotted line and get some backing for the team before the season starts. Finally, of course, there's the practical element of just going fast with a new car. The drivers, when they're running 30 to 50 kilos of fuel, they are learning. It's a new car, new parts to assess and setup changes to make as well. But it's different when you're running it on 5 kilos. The car feels a little bit more alive, and this is your quali spec. If you don't run it in testing, the first time you're really going to feel it is at the first race. And the drivers want to get an idea of what their car's all about before they turn up for round one. So obviously, in Formula One, there's plenty of reasons why a team might want to try and go fast and try and top the times. That's what it's all about. But why would a team want to look slow in pre-season testing? Sandbagging, effectively adding weight to the car to look slower than you really are. Well, the old reason for this is to try and hide what innovative concepts you've got on the car. Always in Formula One, there's new design areas that are important areas of performance finding over the winter. And teams try and hide their pace because they think if they're not quick, people won't copy them. And historically, when you had a 6-wheel car back in the day, or even more recently, innovations like the T-Wing in 2017, if teams were running it and it wasn't quick, maybe they thought that people wouldn't copy them. And that certainly used to be the case back in the day, before we had so much data and so much technology to explore these ideas. In reality now, teams are so on top of what all their competition are doing. They've even got spy photographers that are looking at every detail on every car. So there's no chance that if Mercedes aren't topping the times, if they're midfield, there's no chance that their rivals aren't still looking at every design feature on that car. And even Mercedes would be looking to their rivals as well, whether it's Red Bull, Ferrari, or even the likes of a Williams or a Haas, to see if they've got any innovative details. In reality, the technology, the cameras, the detailed analysis is so much more these days that it's very, very difficult to hide anything you've got on your car. Another reason a team might sandbag is to protect parts on their car. In pre-season testing, spares are limited. The cars have just been built up in time to run, basically, on the track. Most teams this year have done a shakedown, but even so, parts are very limited, and you don't want to put the car in the wool. But in reality, again, the drivers are still pushing. Even if they're running more fuel, they're still pushing. And we saw already this week in Bahrain, many drivers going off the track in sandy, dusty conditions. Even if you're running higher fuel, the times are slower. The drivers are still trying to extract the maximum out of it. And the other aspect of working the engines hard doesn't quite work either, because there's unlimited engines. Engines are only limited by the time we get to round one back here in Bahrain in a couple of weeks. So long as they've got parts back at base, the teams can push the engines, and this is a great time to explore what they're capable of doing as well. When I was racing, of course, I'd know what was in my car. I'd know the fuel level, I'd know the tyres, and you know what you're trying to achieve from every run. The problem is, you've got no idea what anyone else is doing, and that is what creates the mystique heading towards round one.